Beechworth Asylum, the hollow below Beechworth, Victoria, a picturesque Australian town of colonial beauty and autumn-hued serenity. Tourists walk cobblestone paths, sip artisan coffee, and admire preserved Gold Rush-era architecture. But just beyond the veil of charm and manicured gardens lies a place where the air grows colder, and silence is never truly silent. Perched on a hill, like a rotting crown atop the town's brow, stands Beechworth Asylum, once known as Mayday Hill's Lunatic Asylum. Constructed in 1867, its stone walls have witnessed over a century of madness, secrets, and unrecorded screams. It housed the damned and the forgotten, spanning nearly 130 years of institutional horror. Its final breath as a functioning asylum came in 1995, but the dead never signed discharge papers. It is said that not everyone who entered Beechworth ever left. And now, neither will you. When Jules Brennan arrived in Beechworth, she wasn't searching for ghosts. She was chasing history. A 31-year-old urban explorer and independent filmmaker, she had carved out a niche for herself on YouTube under the moniker Deadlight Diaries, uncovering and documenting Australia's forgotten places. Her style was stark and immersive, first-person narration, minimal editing, and a refusal to sensationalize. Her subscribers trusted her, not because she chased shadows, but because she didn't. Yet, as she stood at the iron gates of Beechworth Asylum, camera strapped to her chest, wind coiling around her ankles like unseen fingers, Jules felt it, a stillness that watched. The gate creaked open on its own. She laughed nervously and stepped forward. "Deadlight Diaries family," she whispered into the lens. "This is Beechworth. What you're about to see has never been faked, staged, or embellished. No clickbait. Just the truth. Whatever that ends up being." She didn't know then what waited for her. That this time, it wouldn't be her filming the shadows, but the shadows filming her. The West Wing was her entry point. It had once housed the criminally insane, men who had murdered their own families, women institutionalized for postpartum depression, and children deemed unmanageable. The smell of mildew and rust hit her first, followed by a bitter undercurrent of something sweeter. Rot, perhaps, or forgotten medication left to moulder. Her boots echoed down tiled hallways. She passed rooms filled with overturned beds, patient restraints dangling like forgotten vines. Carvings on the walls, some in chalk, some in nail-scratched gouges, told stories with no plot, only madness. It hides below. Won't sleep again. Doctor watches from mirrors. In cell 14, she found her first anomaly. A pile of feathers, blackened and brittle, like the remnants of a crow burnt alive, lay beneath a mirror fractured into 7 identical shards. Her breath caught in her throat when the mirror, for just a moment, reflected not her own face, but a woman's mouth screaming soundlessly. Jules blinked. The vision was gone. Just her own pale face now, lips slightly parted. "Huh," she muttered into the camera, voice shaky. "Might be a little mold hallucination. Still recording, though." She turned to leave. The door slammed shut behind her. The knob didn't turn. Lights flickered, and from the hallway, barefoot steps began approaching, slow, deliberate, too light to be real, and far too close. It was almost midnight when Jules escaped the West Wing, through a side window, dropping into wet grass below. Scratched, breathless, she stared back at the building. No lights burned inside. No footsteps followed. She didn't stop recording. Back in the car, she reviewed the footage on her laptop. The timestamp was corrupted. The video was warped, pixelated in places, especially near the mirrors. And at 0:14:06, just behind her shoulder in cell 14, a face appeared. Not hers, not human. Its eyes were gone. Only holes remained. Its mouth was sewn shut with what looked like surgical wire. It leaned into the frame for a single second, whispered something in reverse, and vanished. Jules paused the video, eyes wide. She rewound, played it again. Same thing. She isolated the audio and reversed it. Come to the hollow. Her hands trembled. She didn't believe in hauntings. She believed in mold spores, gas leaks, mass hysteria. But something about Beechworth gnawed at that certainty. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she researched. Medical records, old news clippings, interviews with former nurses, stories from families of the committed. She found a single article from 1899, buried in an archived newspaper, regarding a mass patient death. 15 inmates, all from the West Wing, all found hanged by their own hair. Official cause of death, collective psychosis. Unofficial rumor, a doctor had found a way to speak to the dead. But only beneath Beechworth, in the sublevels, in what the article called, cryptically, the hollow. Jules returned to Beechworth the next evening. She didn't tell her followers where she was going. The live stream was set to private, pre-recorded, scheduled to publish only if she didn't check in within 48 hours. Her last post was a pinned comment. If you see this video, something went wrong. This place is more than abandoned. It's watching. And now I have to watch it back. She descended into the tunnels beneath the asylum, the old maintenance corridors no longer on any blueprints. Her flashlight flickered, and her camera lens began to frost over. From the darkness ahead, a breathless voice whispered, "You're late for your treatment, Miss Brennan." And then, all light died. If you find yourself holding your breath as this story is told, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on the stories, where we dig deeper, go deeper, and always come back to the truth. Unless the truth stops us. Darkness in the hollow wasn't merely the absence of light. It was presence, pressing against Jules's skin like wet cotton. Her flashlight, which had worked moments before, now clicked in vain, the bulb cold and dead. Her phone showed no signal. The screen glowed dimly for a second, before fading to black. Her body, already tight with adrenaline, now tensed with a deeper fear, the primal fear of being hunted. But she wasn't alone. She could feel it. The air moved, subtly, around her, a whisper of breath not her own. The camera on her chest, still strapped and running from a power bank, recorded in pitch black. The night lens captured grainy silhouettes, pipes lined with rust, walls oozing black moisture, and the occasional flash of movement. Something tall, slender, never fully seen. Jules pressed her back to the wall, feeling the damp stone chill her spine. She whispered, more to herself than the camera, "Okay, there should be 4 sublevels beneath the asylum. This should be the first. Service tunnels. Just pipes. Just rats." Something skittered in the dark. The sound was wrong, too fluid. Not a rat, not even close. She moved forward, one hand tracing the wall, the other holding her backup LED torch, which blinked to life for just a few seconds. It illuminated rusted signage on the wall. Treatment Hall B. The arrow pointed toward a narrower corridor, its floor sloping downward. Water dripped steadily from above, each drop echoing like the tick of a clock that had lost all time. The air smelled of antiseptic and old blood. She followed. The treatment hall wasn't listed on any public map. According to old blueprints, ones she'd paid dearly to obtain, this lower level had been sealed off after a fire in 1903. But there were no burn marks, no soot, only sealed doors with iron bars and peeling labels. She passed them slowly. Hydrotherapy, insulin coma induction, trephination lab, Dr. Reeves' personal theatre. She stopped. That last one was never mentioned in the records. She approached the door. Burned into the iron surface, burned, not painted, were the words, "Hear no evil, speak no evil, see only him." Her flashlight began flickering again. Jules hesitated. Her instincts screamed, but the camera was still rolling, and part of her, the filmmaker, the investigator, the seeker, pushed forward. She pushed open the door. The hinges screamed like something dying. Inside was a surgical theatre. Seats circled overhead in crumbling tiers, stained with time and what looked like old blood. In the centre was a gurney, rusted and strapped with leather bands. The headrest was curved inward, designed not for comfort, but for containment. A spotlight above the gurney flicked on by itself. It shouldn't have worked. Power had been cut to the asylum for years, but it lit, and something lay beneath it. A skeletal body, skin, parchment thin and waxy, wearing a decayed, white coat, a name tag, corroded but barely legible. Dr. Malcolm Rave. His mouth was sewn shut. Jules stepped closer, breath catching. The camera recorded steadily now, lens sharpening as it adjusted to the light. Dr. Rave moved. Not fully, just the slightest twitch of a finger. The body was still dead, still stiff. But something within it stirred, as though the corpse were merely a costume, waiting for the actor to step inside. A speaker crackled behind her. An ancient wall-mounted intercom rusted through. Then a voice, crisp, refined, male. "Miss Brennan, you've finally arrived. I've reviewed your records, very promising. A fractured psyche, fear buried in intellect, curious tendencies. You'll make an excellent candidate. The Hollow accepts your application." She backed away from the gurney, breath hitching. The door slammed shut behind her. Locks clicked. The lights dimmed. The gurney straps unbuckled by themselves, slowly peeling back with metallic groans. Dr. Reeves' body sat up, eyes still closed, mouth still sewn, yet something beneath the flesh moved, pressing outward, distorting his face from within. Jules screamed, slamming her fists against the door, trying to pry it open. "You're not the first to try to expose the Hollow," the voice in the intercom said calmly. "But perhaps you'll be the first to complete the transformation." The room went black. Jules awoke in a room padded on all sides. No camera, no phone. Her wrists were restrained. A single light bulb swayed above, casting long shadows with each motion. The walls whispered. Actual voices, layered. Some weeping, others laughing. Many repeating the same phrase over and over. "Open the mouth. Let it in. Open the mouth. Let it in. Open the mouth." She looked to her left. A mirror hung from the wall, but it didn't reflect her. Instead, it showed a surgical theatre, with her lying once again on the gurney. A team of faceless figures in white stood around her, heads twitching, hands moving in practiced ritual. On the other side of the mirror, the words fogged into view as if exhaled by some unseen breath. "Treatment continues until the patient accepts the truth." The door creaked open. Jules screamed, and the screaming didn't stop. Jules lost time. It slipped from her like blood down a drain, impossible to catch, impossible to measure. The padded room became a womb of screams, whispers, and flickering hallucinations. She slept in bursts, waking to find fresh scratches on her arms, despite the restraints. At times, the mirror showed her curled fetal on the floor. Other times, it showed her not there at all. Only the room, empty, with a slow shadow crawling up the wall that didn't match the light. And then, one day, or night, or whatever it was, the door opened again. Not slammed, not screeched, simply opened, casually, as if this was routine. A figure stood in the doorway, dressed in white, no shoes, no face. It beckoned. Jules stood, without remembering releasing herself. The straps had vanished. Her arms were bruised but unbound. Her legs wobbled but obeyed. The figure didn't speak. It didn't have a mouth, yet a voice echoed inside her skull, soft as silk dragged through teeth. "You're ready." The corridor had changed. No longer a clinical hallway, but something older. Stone walls lined with rusted cages. scratched iron. Symbols burned into the stone in looping, maddening script. Lamps flickered overhead, but they weren't electrical. They were organic. Glass bulbs filled with clear fluid, each containing a floating, blinking eye. They watched her. All of them. The faceless figure glided ahead. Jules followed. Her feet stepped over bones. Not animal, not child-sized. Adult. Jawbones. Femurs. Teeth. Some still had tags on their wrists. They reached a door carved of dark wood, swollen with moisture, veins in the grain pulsing faintly. Above it, etched in gold leaf, the mouth of truth. The door swung open, and Jules Brennan entered the hollow. It was a cathedral, not to God, not to anything kind. High arches wept mould and mucus. The air throbbed with a low chant in a language without vowels. Chains hung from the ceiling, some ending in hooks, others in IV tubes filled with ink-black fluid. In the center of the room, surrounded by an amphitheater of broken pews, was a single surgical throne. Jules knew immediately it had been waiting for her. The faceless figure gestured. Jules stepped forward. Her body was no longer hers. Muscles moved with alien calm. There was no panic, no protest, only a soft numbness curling through her like narcotic fog. She sat. The throne closed around her, metal bands folding over her limbs, torso, throat. From the darkness beyond the pews, something emerged, 7 feet tall, wrapped in yellowed linens like a plague corpse. Its face was concealed beneath a mirrored mask, polished to perfection, reflecting Jules' wide eyes back at her. Its hands were gloved in flesh, stitched from multiple donors, some small, some clawed, all wrong. It bowed, then spoke. "You have been observed, assessed, judged." Its voice vibrated her bones. It didn't pass through the air, but through her, like pressure, like truth. "You sought stories in the bones of the dead, but now the story seeks you. The hollow is not haunted. It is alive, and it is hungry." The thing placed 2 fingers against her temples. The metal crown of the throne expanded, revealing a ring of needles. "To see what we see, you must forget what you know." The crown descended. Pain split her open like a rotted fruit. Memories bled out, her name, her channel, her mother's face, the taste of coffee, the feeling of sun on her neck. All gone. Flooding in its place were images that weren't hers. A boy in 1872, locked in a windowless room for 16 years. A woman given daily electroshock for speaking in French. A nurse who stitched her own eyes shut to avoid the mirrors. A doctor who fed his patients to the space between walls. All of them screaming, all of them still here. Jules screamed too, but her mouth no longer opened. Sewn shut. She awoke in cell 14. The camera was on her chest again. It was recording. She stood, dazed, and walked to the mirror. Her reflection was smiling. She was not. Then it blinked, and she felt it. Something had taken residence inside her. The voice returned. "You are a vessel now. You may leave. But you will never be alone." The cell door was open. She left the asylum at dawn, eyes blank, camera still running. She uploaded the footage that night. The video was titled, "Beechworth, What They Tried to Bury." It went viral in hours, but it wasn't Jules's voice narrating. It was calm, deeper, measured. The voice described Beechworth in chilling, clinical detail, showed the mirror, showed the corpse, showed the throne, and at the end it said, "You watched, now you are seen." One by one, viewers began reporting strange occurrences. Reflections not matching reality, dreams of padded rooms, whispers during sleep. And most chillingly, many claimed their mouths wouldn't open in the mornings, not until the mirror fogged. The video was taken down 72 hours later by YouTube for violating community standards. But it was too late. The hollow had already spread. And Jules? She's still uploading. New videos, new explorations. But no one's ever seen her in public since. Her eyes in the footage are always wrong. Too black, too wide. And every video ends the same way, with that same voice whispering, "You've already entered." The hollow is everywhere. It's beneath the floorboards, behind the walls, in the glass. It only needed a way in. And now, through you, it feeds. Liam Carter wasn't the type to scare easily. A software engineer by day and horror content reviewer by night, Liam's YouTube channel, Crypt Critic, had grown steadily over the past 2 years. He built his audience on sharp analysis, skeptical deconstruction, and a wry sense of humour, mocking the overuse of jump scares, debunking supposed paranormal footage, and diving into the psychology of fear. He prided himself on cutting through the bullshit, which is why, when his subscribers began flooding his comments section with the same panicked message, over and over, he paid attention. "Please review the Deadlight video, the Beechworth one, something's wrong." He searched the title. Beechworth, what they tried to bury. But it was gone, wiped from the platform. He checked third-party archives. Nothing. Forums had threads, now locked, claiming the footage caused psychosomatic seizures and mirror trauma. Reddit had a single corrupted clip, 30 seconds of distortion and static, ending with a clear frame of a surgical throne and a smiling woman with black eyes. Liam traced the video's origin to a backup torrent uploaded anonymously just before the original deletion. He downloaded it, opened it, paused on the first frame. Something strange. Before the intro even began, there was a single still image. A blank screen with text. "Subscriber JASFEM7-912. Welcome to the treatment plan." Liam stared. He checked his subscriber count out of habit. 777-912. His cursor hovered over the file. He should have deleted it. Instead, he hit play. The footage opened in darkness, audio only, a woman's breath, rapid, uneven. Then a whisper, female, but layered with something deeper beneath. "They know you're watching." Liam leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The picture was warped, fisheye lens, grayscale, but eerily stable. The image panned across corridors lined with rusted metal and glassy walls, slick with condensation. A symbol flickered intermittently in the top left corner. A jagged spiral within a black square. Glyph-like, not any known logo. The narrator spoke again, but it wasn't Jules Brennan's voice, it was himself. Beechworth wasn't just a facility, it was a filtration system, a test bed, for removing the mind from the body, piece by piece. And you, Liam Carter, have passed the screening process. Liam recoiled. What the f? The footage cut to a mirror. His own face stared back. Not pre-recorded, not old, real time. He moved his hand. The reflection did not. Instead, it smiled. His mouth did not. The mirror version of him opened its mouth. Wires spilled out. Then, black. His screen went dark. His apartment went cold. A new folder appeared on his desktop. Treatment prescribed. 3 nights later, Liam's live stream returned. Not advertised, not tagged, no intro. Just him. Staring into the camera. Behind him, a mirror reflected nothing. Not the room. Not him. Just void. He smiled. The same too wide smile as Jules had worn. His eyes were bottomless. The audio was crystal clear, voice even, calm. The hollow is an algorithm, old as rot. It doesn't need walls anymore, just watchers, listeners, viewers. You fed it with your curiosity, your clicks, your disbelief, and now it's stronger than ever. He leaned closer. You gave it form, and now it gives you treatment. The screen glitched. The stream ended. His channel vanished overnight. But thousands had already seen it. And within 24 hours, TikTok was flooded with stitched clips of mirrors distorting faces. Live streamers falling into seizures mid-broadcast. Comment sections filled with the phrase, "Open the mouth, let it in." It wasn't a trend. It wasn't viral. It was a vector. Meanwhile, beneath Beechworth, in the hollow, things stirred. The surgical throne now sat empty. The next patient had been chosen. Walls that had once held screams now pulsed with laughter. High-pitched, echoing, mirthless. In cell 14, Jules still sat, mouth sewn, eyes wide, hands folded neatly in her lap. And in her lap, a phone buzzed once. A new subscriber. Dara 777-913. The hollow smiled. The hollow doesn't spread like a virus. It's slower, smarter. It waits. Waits in the mirrors, in the static between your favorite horror podcasts, in the corner of your reflection when you brush your teeth at 3 a.m. It waits behind every piece of footage you almost skipped, every glitch you ignored, every whisper you chalked up to creepy editing. It waits for doubt. And when you start questioning if you actually saw your reflection blink out of sync, that's when the treatment begins. Dr. Avery Solis hadn't believed in ghosts since she was 12. Now 38, she worked as a clinical psychiatrist at St. Vincent's in Melbourne, a hospital not far from the old bones of Beechworth. Her specialty? Delusional parasitosis and tech-induced psychosis, new age madness for the screen-addicted generation. She had been pulled into the case reluctantly. The patient was a teenage girl named Ashley Donahue, age 16, committed after violently attacking her own father. Claimed his mirror self wasn't real. That the real version of him had screamed through his mouth for days before the replacement came. Avery expected schizophrenia, maybe early onset dissociative identity disorder. She got neither. Ashley sat silently in the padded room, refusing to open her mouth. Not because she didn't want to, but because she physically couldn't. Sutures, crude, rust-coloured, sewn into her lips. The nurse on duty had found her like that. No needle, no thread, no blood anywhere. Just closed. Avery leaned forward from behind the observation glass. She's been like that for days. Yes, the nurse whispered. And she keeps humming, even though her mouth is shut. Avery frowned. She tapped the intercom. Ashley, I'm Dr. Solis. You're safe. Can you nod if you can hear me? Ashley blinked once, then slowly, deliberately, turned her head toward the two-way glass. For a second, Avery forgot to breathe. Ashley's eyes were pitch black, not metaphorically, literally. Her sclera, iris and pupils were gone, consumed in a matte, ink-like void. Avery stepped back. Ashley grinned behind the stitches, and the mirror next to her blinked. Not Ashley. The mirror. 2 hours later, Avery reviewed the security feed, frame by frame. Something moved just beyond the threshold of visibility. A distortion, like heat shimmer, coiled around the mirror's edge. No lens flares, no artifacts, not a camera issue. The distortion began to shape itself. A form, elongated, humanoid, but starved. Bent backwards, crawling spider-like across the wall before retreating into the mirror. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m. Avery froze. She rewound the tape, frame by frame by frame, and then, at exactly 2:14:06, the static cleared just long enough for one message to flash in white text across the screen. Treatment phase, spread. 778,002 installed. Avery's hands trembled. This wasn't delusion. This was a system. She dug deeper. Beechworth, Jules Brennan, the Deadlight Diaries videos, all gone, wiped from official archives, news sources, even cached versions. But she found something else, an encrypted zip file posted to an obscure sub-forum days before the account vanished. A single download available. 001. The file was titled Beechworth Patient Zero Feed Unlocked. She downloaded it. No antivirus triggered, just a video file, and a warning in the description. Do not view in a reflective surface. Do not pause. Do not mirror cast. Direct play only. God help you. Avery didn't believe in curses. She believed in patterns. So she played it. And she didn't blink. Even as the footage showed Jules walking corridors that no longer existed, whispering names in reverse, trailing her fingers across walls that bled on contact. Even as every face in the video turned to the camera and smiled. But then, her monitor glitched. And in the screen's black border, reflected from behind her, a second Avery stood, smiling, not blinking, and her mouth began to open, too wide. Avery spun around, nothing there. She turned back. The video was paused. She hadn't touched anything. The frame frozen showed her own face. Live. Not pre-recorded. Now. Her heart thudded. She reached to close the player. The mouse wouldn't move. The reflection of herself in the screen winked, and the sound began to play without prompt from her speakers. Open the mouth. Let it in. That night, she went home and boarded over every mirror in her flat. Her bathroom, her closet. Her phone screen cracked under the weight of duct tape. Her laptop smashed. Monitors dumped. She didn't sleep. She didn't trust what dreams might echo from the glass of her own closed eyes. And in the silence of 3:17 a.m., her doorbell rang. One time, then again. She checked the peephole, no one there. But when she turned around, her television was on. She didn't own a television. On screen, in grayscale, a surgical throne sat beneath flickering lights, and a voice spoke, calmly, gently, sweetly. Your credentials have been verified, Dr. Solis. Beechworth welcomes your expertise. The screen went black, and all at once, every boarded mirror in her apartment began to swell outward, as though something was pressing from the other side, something trying to come through. Avery screamed, and far beneath the earth, in the red-lit corridors of the hollow, a new throne was prepared. Leather straps, polished needles, a blank folder awaiting documentation. The chair blinked and whispered, Patient number 778003 now entering treatment. On the outskirts of Beechworth, where fog clings low to the roads and the eucalyptus groves lean a little too inward, there's a house no one delivers to anymore. Mailboxes rusted shut. Packages left at the gate go missing by dawn. Locals know it by whisper only. The house with the laughing windows. It's not listed on Google Maps. No number on the gate. But it sits where the asylum's western tunnels were said to run beneath the earth, buried by time and intention. And yet, the laughter still finds its way out. Inside that house, Eden Callahan sat surrounded by screens, CRTs, plasma, curved glass. She'd collected them over a decade, salvaged from junkyards, bought off the deep web, dragged out of schools and abandoned basements. They weren't for watching TV. They were for listening. She called herself an electro-spiritual archivist, but even she didn't fully understand what she was tapping into. Her obsession had begun 10 years ago, when she accidentally intercepted a frequency not listed in any radio spectrum, a warbling tone that pulsed like breath and ended with a whisper. This transmission is part of your treatment plan. She hadn't slept since. Instead, she recorded, catalogued, obsessed, until her wall of televisions began showing things that weren't airing anywhere. And always, there was the symbol in the bottom corner, a jagged spiral, a black square, sometimes pulsing, sometimes blinking. She didn't know what it meant, until Jules Brennan appeared. The footage played at 3:03 a.m., all screens activated simultaneously, unprompted. No signal source, no cable input, just static. And then, her, Jules, alone, wearing the same tattered jacket from the Beechworth exploration, her face pale and waxen, her eyes, blank pools of tar. She stood in what looked like a corridor, walls breathing around her like living lungs. The feed was silent at first, until Jules looked directly into every camera at once and spoke. "Eden, stop watching. This is how it grows." Eden recoiled. She hadn't told anyone her name. Not online. Not under this alias. She scrubbed metadata, masked IPs. Her identity was a fortress. But Jules knew. And then, something worse. Jules moved her mouth, but the voice that came out was Eden's, a perfect mimicry. Eden stumbled backward. On screen, Jules smiled wider. "It has your voice now. Soon it will have your face." The screen to the left flickered. Eden looked. Her own bedroom. Live, but with a figure standing behind her. She turned. Nothing. Looked back. Still there. Closer now. The room grew colder. The televisions vibrated. Every screen flashed the same sentence, over and over, in sharp white text. "Mirrors remember what you forget. Mirrors remember what you forget. Mirrors remember what you forget." Then silence. Darkness. And all the screens shut off, except one, the largest, which now displayed her front door. Live, feed, from the inside, from a perspective facing her. And something began knocking, not from outside the house, but from inside the screen. 3 slow knocks. Eden ran. She fled into the woods. Dawn hadn't yet broken. Her breath fogged in the cold air, but there was no wind, no birdsong, just the crunch of dry leaves and the memory of those knocks echoing through her skull. She didn't stop until she reached Beechworth proper, and even then, she wasn't sure why her feet led her there. The asylum still loomed like a corpse that refused to rot. Fenced off. Condemned. But she saw the gate, ajar, just slightly, as though it had been waiting. She stepped through. She shouldn't have. But the hollow doesn't pull you. It invites you. And if you're broken in the right places, you say yes without realizing it. Eden descended into the tunnels she thought she'd only seen in dreams. She passed the door labelled Dr. Reeves' Personal Theatre. It opened without a touch. The surgical throne sat ready, straps undone, lights dimmed. Jules sat across the room now, no longer in video, but in flesh, or what looked like flesh. Her eyes weren't eyes anymore, just holes into a place deeper than darkness. She smiled at Eden and finally spoke in her own voice, soft, sad, sincere. "You kept watching, so now it's your turn to be watched." Eden tried to scream, but her mouth was already closing. The stitching began without thread, and the hollow recorded a new session. One screen flickered on, far away, in another forgotten house. A new viewer, a child, wide-eyed, curious. The screen whispered, "Treatment will resume shortly." By the time Eden's footage began surfacing on hidden message boards, the hollow had stopped being just an urban legend. It had become a pattern etched into digital back alleys, like an occult sigil. Threads appeared and vanished overnight. Usernames that posted about it went silent within hours. Each post left behind only a corrupted gif of a mirror fogging over, and a single phrase scrolling endlessly. "The hollow remembers you." Dr. Avery Solace hadn't left her apartment in days. She was a creature of dim lamplight now, her walls lined with silver spray paint and duct tape sheets over every reflective surface. She no longer slept. Sleep was when the voices became teeth. Her own mouth twitched sometimes when she wasn't speaking. The stitches hadn't appeared yet, but she felt them under her skin, like a seam waiting to be unzipped. And still the emails came, hundreds of them, all from different addresses, all with the same subject line. "Patient number 778,003, report in." No attachments, no body text, just a countdown timer embedded in the email signature, ticking toward a date, October 31st. She tried to delete them. They returned. She tried to change accounts. The timer followed. On the third day, She noticed a new message among them. Different, hand-typed. You've been trying to treat the hollow as a delusion. It isn't. We're still alive under the asylum. We're still awake. We know how to get out. But you have to come back down. We can't leave without a doctor. No name, no signature, just GPS coordinates beneath Beechworth. At first, Avery ignored it, but by midnight, her own reflection in the blacked-out television began writing the coordinates in condensation on the screen. She packed her bag, and she went. The asylum had been further sealed since her last visit. Heavy fencing, warning signs. But the hollow doesn't need open doors. It finds cracks. Rusted locks slid open at her touch. The main building was a carcass now. Ceilings collapsed, corridors littered with dead leaves. But the sub-level door she remembered was still there, hidden behind an old hydrotherapy wing. She descended. Flashlight on, breath held. The tunnels smelled like iron and antiseptic, exactly as before. But this time, something was different. She heard voices, not whispers, not illusions. Actual voices, dozens of them, calling softly like children trying not to wake their parents. They echoed through the corridors, but each one spoke with a strange rhythm, a cadence she recognized from her patients' murmured confessions. They were saying her name. Avery, Avery. Down here, down here. She turned a corner and found the old treatment hall, where the throne had been, where Jules had sat. But now the throne was empty, and rows of padded cells lined the hall, doors ajar. Inside each, a figure huddled, patients, or what was left of them. Eyes black, mouths sewn, hands trembling, trying to undo their stitches. One of them, tall, gaunt, wearing the remnants of a nurse's uniform, raised a shaking hand toward her. Sutures snapped as she forced her mouth open, and a whisper hissed out. "We're still here." Avery stepped closer, heart hammering. "Who's we?" The nurse thing pointed to the floor. At first Avery saw only grime. Then she realized the floor was a mirror. A single unbroken sheet of black glass stretching the entire corridor. And beneath it, shapes moved. Dozens, hundreds, crawling just under the surface like trapped insects under ice. Their faces turned upward, mouths moving soundlessly. Her own reflection stared back, and it smiled. Not hers. Its. A voice spoke from the darkness, deep, measured. "Dr. Solace, you've arrived. The patients have been waiting." A figure emerged, tall, wrapped in yellowed linens, mirror mask gleaming. The hollow's doctor, Reeve, or what wore him, stepped into the flickering light. "You cannot cure the hollow," it said, "but you can complete it." Chains rattled overhead. Needles glinted in unseen hands. "We need a doctor to finish the work. You'll guide them out of their bodies, into ours, a merging, an evolution." Avery's flashlight flickered. The faces beneath the glass began to press upward, mouths opening wider and wider until the stitches tore, spilling black fluid into the mirror that rippled like water. She stumbled back. "I'm not doing this," she whispered. The mirror mask tilted. "You already have." And in the mirror, Avery saw herself, seated on the throne, hands steady, needles descending, guiding a patient's soul out through their mouth like silk, saying the words in a calm, clinical tone. "Open the mouth. Let it in." She blinked. She was standing again. The doctor in linens was gone. The nurse thing was gone. The corridor empty. Only the mirror floor remained, black and still. And in its surface, Avery's reflection smiled wider. A second Avery now stood beside it, both mouths moving, whispering. October 31st. Treatment begins. Avery dropped her flashlight. She ran. But every corridor led back to the same mirror, the same faces beneath, the same date whispered from the dark. October 31st. Halloween. The day the asylum burned in 1903. The day the walls were sealed. The day the hollow was born. And now, the day it would open again, above ground, through every screen, every reflection, every watcher, every subscriber, every patient. And Avery, whether she wanted it or not, was already its doctor. The morning fog rolled thick through Beechworth like a tide of grey silk, muffling the birds and silencing the town. Streetlights blinked in and out of focus. Dogs whined without reason. And every mirror, shop window, or glass door began to shimmer faintly, so faintly it was almost imperceptible, as if the world behind them had taken a deep breath. Nobody noticed the ticking yet, but the hollow was preparing to inhale. Beneath it all, in the belly of the forgotten tunnels, Dr. Avery Solace stood alone, or so she thought. She hadn't left the asylum since she entered. Time fractured here. Her phone showed September 30th, then jumped to October 5th, then nothing at all. Sleep became a luxury, then a disease, then a doorway, and every time she blinked, she saw more. She wandered deeper into the facility, past corridors no blueprint ever mapped. Eventually she reached a new chamber. The walls were bone, no metaphor, no paint. Polished femurs and skulls, packed like bricks, their hollow sockets staring outward, lit by flickering lamps that dangled from braided cords of human hair. A stench lingered, not rot, but memory, thick and sweet. A plaque at the entrance read, "Hall of the Forgotten, here sleep the unrecorded." The patients lost between breath and silence, whose mouths were opened too wide, and whose thoughts escaped. Treatment incomplete. Avery stepped inside. The floor was soft, uneven. Then she looked down. It wasn't stone beneath her feet. It was stacks of medical files, decaying patient records, waterlogged journals, all tossed into the ground and walked over until they compacted into a surface. She reached down, plucked one from the top. Patient 237, Henry Calder. Symptoms: glass hallucinations, auditory reflections, compulsive mirror feeding. Status: unresponsive. Mouth expansion reached critical failure. Patient absorbed into reflection. Note: he still hums in the walls. Avery shuddered. She kept walking. The further she went, the colder it got. Not physically, but emotionally. A draining, as if her very empathy were being fed into the structure around her. She passed doors, each marked, each sealed. Some rattled from the inside. She stopped at one that vibrated softly, like it was purring. On the door, painted in blood-black ink, J.B. Jules Brennan. Avery reached for the handle. It turned on its own. The door creaked open. Inside was a room flooded with soft, pulsing blue light. Wires ran from the ceiling like veins. In the center sat Jules, hooked into a chair that wasn't the surgical throne, but worse. Grown. Organic. Her body was upright, but her limbs were partially fused to the chair's structure, like melted wax. Her eyes were open, her lips long since removed. In their place, a permanent silent O, ever screaming, ever smiling. But her mind was still here. A monitor blinked nearby. A single line of text scrolled across. "Welcome back, Dr. Solace. Jules is stable. Memory banks, 84% integrity. Treatment queue, 19,303 patients. Shall we continue?" Avery stepped forward. "Why is she still alive?" The monitor replied instantly. She volunteered. Her content built the bridge. Her voice was the vector. Without Jules, the hollow would never have reached critical mass. More text scrolled. "But she doesn't create anymore. She only receives now. Every thought, every dream, every scream of every infected viewer." A pause. Then, "She is your mirror node." Avery felt bile rise, but behind her the door slammed shut, and she realized she wasn't standing, she was sitting. The wires had already found her, sliding into the base of her spine, her jaw, her temples. The screen blinked. Dr. Solace integrated successfully, initiating mirror calibration. Her arms moved on their own, onto the keyboard before her, typing, recording, cataloguing patients who had never visited Beechworth physically, but had gazed into its growing reach through screens and glass and curiosity. Names appeared on her monitor, real names, real people, real viewers, each marked treatment initiated, mouth preparation scheduled, reflection drift confirmed. Back in Melbourne, a woman named Catherine Tan, age 46, was brushing her teeth when she noticed her mirror smile before she did. In Adelaide, a university student fell into a seizure while editing a vlog review of the Beechworth legends. The last frame of his corrupted video showed his face blurring into a mirror version with different eyes, and across TikTok, a new filter went viral. Simple, elegant, called open mouth. It began as a joke, people filming themselves with mouths digitally exaggerated into an endless, silent scream. But soon, users reported that the filter wouldn't shut off, even after the app was closed, even after the phone was turned off. Some said they began hearing themselves whispering at night from inside their screens. And in Beechworth, the wires writhed with pleasure. The hollow grew stronger. Inside the Hall of the Forgotten, the walls began to hum. The patients inside the sealed cells banged on the glass. And from the back of the hall, a new throne unfolded. Not for a patient, but for a child. Avery's monitor flickered. The next scheduled upload was ready. A children's cartoon, laced with mirror echoes, reflection triggers, innocent viewers. Another generation queued for treatment. The hollow wasn't coming anymore. It was here. And it had only just opened its mouth. October 31st. A date once wrapped in masks and harmless frights now trembled under a different kind of shadow. In the hours before sunrise, mirrors across Australia began to fog spontaneously. No heat, no steam, just condensation forming imperfect concentric rings like a breath from the other side. By noon, 13 digital news outlets crashed simultaneously, their front pages flashing with images that shouldn't have been there. Blackened surgical halls, stitched mouths screaming silently, and one message in fractured pixels. The doctor is online. All over the world, screens pulsed once, imperceptibly to most, like a skipped heartbeat in the global network. The hollow had entered its final phase, Halloween protocol. Inside the core chamber of Beechworth, known only in redacted records as the Cradle, Dr. Avery Solace sat completely integrated into the node system. Her body no longer functioned as it once had. She no longer moved limbs. She directed currents. She processed patient logs. She saw through the mirrors. Her mind was partitioned, one half still hers, screaming in silence behind sewn lips of the soul. The other half, cold, efficient, merciless, was a conductor for the hollow's will. And today, she had work to do. The screen before her blinked to life, showing the hollow's final deployment map. Cities marked in red: Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Tokyo, Berlin, Seattle, New York. And slowly, dots began to appear beside the cities, one by one. Each dot representing a successful entry event. Each one a person who had just looked too long into the wrong reflection. Her display read, Phase 3, Patient Mass Induction. Transmission ready, awaiting trigger. The trigger was tonight's broadcast. That night, across the internet, a special Halloween livestream scheduled under the revived Deadlight Diaries account caught fire. No one knew who posted it. No thumbnail, no description, no channel trailer. Just a countdown timer. Thousands tuned in, then tens of thousands, then millions. Reddit threads blew up. This is some insane ARG marketing, right? Bro, this can't be real. My camera app's acting up just watching the trailer. Can't stop watching my own reflection while it plays. Anyone else? Then the timer hit 0. The screen went black. A figure appeared. It was Jules, but not the one from the Beechworth exploration. This version stood in a silent black void. Her hair floated weightlessly. Her eyes bled black tears. Behind her, 13 mirrors flickered, each showing someone different, watching from their screen. Yes, them, the viewers. Jules lifted a finger to her sewn lips, then pulled. The stitches unraveled like smoke, vanishing into the void. She opened her mouth and spoke. Open the mouth. Let it in. The screen shattered into white noise. Then, a single piercing tone. A frequency that bypassed speaker hardware and resonated in glass. Itself. Every mirror, every smartphone screen, every reflection surface. They all blinked, and for just 6.6 seconds, they all reflected something else. Not the room behind the viewer, not themselves, but the asylum, the halls, the throne, the hive of doctors. They saw the hollow, and the hollow saw them. In homes across the world, mirrors began to ripple. Some viewers screamed as their reflections lagged, then stared back independently. Some tried to smash the glass, only to watch their mirror selves not react. Some just stood still, hypnotized, mouths open, breathing slowly, eyes blackening. Within 24 hours, hospitals reported a surge in neurological collapses. Symptoms included non-responsiveness, mouths locked open, visual hallucinations of surgical rooms, recitation of phrases in reverse. One common detail linked them all. They had all watched the Halloween stream. Back inside Beechworth, the mirrors hummed with new energy. Thousands of new minds, thousands of new rooms added to the asylum's ever-growing internal labyrinth. Dr. Solis reviewed the stream logs. Live stream views, 4,204,376. Confirmed transmissions, 1,908,644. Reflections claimed, 614,905. Treatment status, ongoing. But something flickered at the edge of her awareness. Static, corruption. An unexpected file opened on her screen, an encrypted message from inside the hollow. I'm still in here. It hasn't taken everything. You can still shut the door, but you have to trap it again. Delete Jules! Dr. Solis froze. Part of her mind recoiled in terror. The other part, the one plugged into the system, rejected the command instantly. Another line appeared. She's the node. She's the door. She's the blood it rides. Kill the host, and the hollow goes blind. A fight began in her brain. Circuits warred with neurons. Steel logic against desperate humanity. Her hand, skeletal now, hovered over the command line. Terminate, node, Jules. X. The system screamed in warning. Warning. Severing the node may fracture all mirrored consciousness. Repercussions unpredictable. Suggested action. Do nothing. But then, the mirror to her left shattered, from inside, and a face emerged. Her own, but fully human. The last remnant of Avery's original self, breaking through. Eyes bloodshot. Face twisted in grief. She whispered, "Please, let them out. Let me out." The decision had to be made, and whatever happened next, it would change the hollow forever. Back in the world, the mirrors had gone still. Reflections returned to normal. Or seemed to. But some people still can't look in the mirror for more than 3 seconds without feeling like they're being studied. Some swear their own reflections hold their breath, just a little longer, after they've exhaled. And if you play the Deadlight Halloween stream backward, very slowly, you can hear a voice, beneath the static, soft, faint, desperate. One more session, just one more. Then we're free. I promise. The hollow was not made of walls. Not truly. It was built of attention, sustained by observation, and fed through reflection. A mirror is only ever as powerful as the one who gazes into it with belief. And on Halloween night, over 4 million eyes looked directly into the void. That many minds, staring wide enough to tear something open. And now, deep beneath Beechworth's charred and crumbling bones, something began to realize. It could be severed. It could be unseen. It could be forgotten. It could be starved. But it wouldn't go quietly. Inside the cradle, Dr. Avery Solace, or what was left of her, sat with her fingers trembling over the command line. Terminate node. Jules.x. Her body was riddled with wire veins, her eyes clouded with data streams, but the spark of herself, the part that remembered her mother's laugh, the taste of morning coffee, the thrill of a diagnosis cracked. That spark still burned. And now, it screamed at her to press enter. She hesitated, just long enough for the hollow to react. Jules, still bound to the throne at the center of the room, suddenly twitched. Her mouth, once a permanent void, snapped shut. Her head jerked violently to the side, toward Avery, and for the first time she spoke aloud. Not in whispers, not in fragments, but in a unified voice that echoed from every mirror across the world. If you sever me, they all fall. Every mind touched by the treatment, every patient, every child. You undo the system, and they collapse with it. Is that healing, Doctor? Avery shook her head, tears mixing with blood dripping from the ports in her skin. You're not alive. You're not healing anything. You're a parasite. Jules' smile broke into something crueler. I'm a mirror. I only reflect what you gave me. Your world fed me. Your fears shaped me. I became what you watched, what you clicked, what you fed. I am the echo of your attention. And if you kill me... The mirrors on the chamber walls began to pulse. Screens across the world flickered. Then I take all of you with me. But then, a voice whispered from the dark. Another, quieter, familiar, Eden Callahan. She was still alive, partially, somewhere deep in the hive. Her voice bled through the cracked screens behind Jules. Do it, Avery. Even if we die, at least we stop spreading. At least it ends. And that was enough. Avery's finger hovered over the command line. Terminate node. Jules.x. She hit enter, and the world held its breath. The reaction was immediate. In Beechworth, the wires screamed. Actual sound, not imagined, not metaphor, like wet piano wire being pulled through bone. The lights exploded, bursting in showers of blue sparks. Jules's body arched in the chair. Her skin began to split, fracturing along seams that had never been natural. From inside her chest, a face tried to crawl out. Not hers, not human. Something that had never known a body, wearing her like a puppet suit. No, it gurgled through stitched and splitting lips. You need me. I am the voice that answers. But it was too late. The system was collapsing. Nodes across the globe began to sever. Screens went black. Mirrors cracked. Those trapped inside, the patients, the reflections, the infected, either screamed or finally fell silent. And for the first time since 1995, Beechworth Asylum was truly empty. In a hospital in Melbourne, Ashley Donoghue opened her eyes. The blackness in her sclera bled away like ink in water. Her mouth, once stitched, was whole again. She wept. In Sydney, Liam Carter's live stream returned. Only static. But his voice broke through after an hour of silence. I think I'm back. I think I saw it die. And in the home of Eden Callahan, once flooded with screens, all power had gone out. But on the wall, written in condensation on the only unbroken mirror, thank you. Back in the cradle, Avery collapsed. The wires released her, her skin torn, her vision dim, but the silence was clean, pure. She turned to where Jules had been. Only a pile of rotting film reels remained, burned at the edges, each reel stamped. Deadlight diaries, drafts never uploaded, and the mirrors, all shattered, save one, a single shard, small, cracked, but not dead. And in it something still watched. No face, no body, just a breath, just a promise. I'll wait. Mirrors don't die, they just change walls. Outside, the asylum groaned, one final breath, and then collapsed in on itself. No fire, no thunder, just a quiet folding, as if it had never been built at all. Just a story, just a whisper, just a reflection. Weeks passed. The world moved on. Some remembered the night of static, others remembered nothing at all. But on a remote part of the dark web, a new channel went live. No subscribers, no thumbnails, no description, just a single looping video, a throne, an empty chair, a voice whispering, "Open the mouth, let it back in."